Finally, I am back with another ranking video. It has been over 2 months since I last did a ranking video, and that ranking video was ranking the 5 arcs of Berserk. Now, since then, I've really been focusing on reviews and character analysis videos, kind of things like that, right? Today is the day where I go ahead and count down my top 10 arcs in manga. These are the 10 arcs that I consider to be the best in manga that I have read. Now, quick disclaimer, I am not a robot. I have not seen every manga. In fact, I've barely even seen up to 30 manga. I know, pretty pathetic. But I wanted to give you my overall thoughts on the top 10 arcs. And since I haven't seen this many manga, I may come back to this list later when I've read much more and update my thoughts on these arcs. Another disclaimer is that I'll only be including a single arc in every manga that I include on this list, because if I didn't do that, let's be honest, Berserk would have quite a few arcs, Vagabond would have quite a few arcs, Kingdom would have quite a few arcs. With that in mind, I'm going to be doing a single arc from every manga that I've read. I hope you do enjoy these ranking videos just as much as I enjoy recording them for you, and if you do, a like would be greatly appreciated. But without any further ado, I say that every video, let's get into my top 10 arcs in all of manga. At number 10, kicking off the list, I have the L arc from Death Note. What? This may come as a surprise to many of you, as I've never talked about Death Note on my channel, but this arc is actually from the anime because I've not seen the manga of Death Note. I'm sorry, I may have clickbaited all of you into this video because I said top 10 manga arcs, but this is from the anime, which I saw, being Death Note, of course. Number 10 place is by no means a bad placing on this list because I love every single one of these arcs on the list. The L arc for me is the peak of Death Note, and if it was just this, it would be probably a bit higher on my list. And don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near my top 10 as a series, but the L arc itself gave us a very strong parallel between L and Light, and just the back and forth between the two, the mystery, the build up, the climax, everything about that was just amazing.
Is that lovely?
I don't have too much more to say about the L arc because it is going to spoil a lot of things. It's just that I think it is a flawlessly written arc, and unfortunately Death Note falls down a little bit for me after this arc, but nevertheless it is a very suspenseful and well written arc, therefore getting the number 10 spot on my list. Number 9 is the Baltic War arc from Vinland Saga, another possibly surprising placing on this list. Many people either have the farming arc or the prologue arc as their favorite in Vinland Saga, but to me the Baltic War was the best arc in Vinland Saga. We get introduced to many new characters like Garm, and just seeing Thorkel again and Canute again, seeing how they develop a lot is amazing. But of course the highlight of this is Thorfinn. The farming arc is very, very close to the Baltic War arc for me because it really developed Thorfinn's character beautifully. But what the Baltic War arc does that I feel like the farming arc doesn't is show the different sides that Thorfinn has. In these panels right here, you can see Thorfinn in front of Floki, and this is one of the strongest panels in all of Vinland Saga because it really shows the internal struggle that Thorfinn has trying to become a better person, but when he sees the man who murdered his father, he cannot help himself but to rage and go crazy and pick up the sword. We also meet Hild and get an amazing flashback of her and how she met Thorfinn. This arc really brought a lot of the characters together in this war, and it's the arc where I feel like we really see Thorfinn struggle the most. And while I do think that is going to be very controversial, the Baltic War arc for me was the best arc in Vinland Saga, even though the Farmland arc is very, very close. At number 8, I have the Ruinheim arc from Monster. Monster, I did a review on a very long time ago, but basically, Monster is just a flawless creation. It is an absolutely flawlessly done story. The Ruinheim arc is the arc that brought everything in Monster together. We learned so many different things about the characters of Johan and Anna, and really getting to see Anna's memories and how they really tie in to Johan and the different places like Kinderheim 511 or the Red Rose Mansion. There's so much suspense in this arc, being the final arc in the story, and the final climax to Johan's character makes him, in my opinion, one of the greatest written antagonists ever in the medium of anime and manga. The final arc of Monster, the Ruinheim arc, again brought everything together and made for one of the most breathtaking finales that I've ever seen. The final panel of the empty bed is just amazing, and I love Urasawa's open ending, and he did it perfectly. Number 8, the Ruinheim arc. Number 7 is the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. The Chimera Ant arc was not my favorite arc in Hunter x Hunter when I first watched it through the anime. When I first watched it through the anime, the York New City arc was by far my favorite. But when looking at it back now, I can really see that the Chimera Ant arc was the arc that was built up to be the strongest for Gon's character, and in building a very, very strong antagonist in Meruem. Meruem as a character was developed phenomenally, and it's very difficult to do something like that when you introduce a character so late in your story. And still, Togashi was able to develop Meruem into such an amazing antagonist. Even in the little time that he was in the story, he quickly became one of my favorite antagonists ever. Gon's rage and his fall into darkness was something you would never expect from a series that looks so cheery and childlike like Hunter x Hunter, and yet it was able to write that so beautifully with Gon's character. Killua develops very well too. Just everything in the Chimera Ant arc brought all the characters together that we've been wanting to see in the beginning of the story, and they did it flawlessly. Number 7, the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. Number 6, the Marineford arc from One Piece. Marineford was an absolutely unbelievable arc. It was wild. I mean, I don't even know where to start. The build up to Marineford, Ace being captured, Whitebeard's introduction. Oh my god. Whitebeard's introduction. The character of Whitebeard became one of my favorite One Piece characters ever, and one of my favorite characters just ever, because of how incredibly written he was. Being such a menacing character, being the one known as the strongest in the world, and yet his dream for setting out to sea was to find a family. What an incredible character, and of course, his final speech hits different. One Piece I'm not going to spoil the final climax because no one deserves that to be spoiled for them. That was one of the most tragic and just heartbreaking climaxes in all of shonen that I've seen. And Marineford just gave us so much. It brought so many of these big name characters together in one place, and somehow they were able to do that arc perfectly. All of the world building and all the different factions were brought together into this massive climax that would lead to the future of the story and lead to the main character Luffy's massive development that he undergoes due to a certain event that happens, which if you've seen One Piece, I'm sure you know. But at number 6 is the Marineford arc from One Piece. At number 5, I have the War for Paradise arc from Attack on Titan. I'm sure you're not expecting Attack on Titan on this list because everyone just ignores it now because of the ending. Getting back on topic though, we're now in the top 5, and the top 5 for me is the strongest arcs that I've ever seen. Obviously, it's the top 5. Kicking it off with the War for Paradise arc from Attack on Titan. This arc started off as a fight. It was a war going on between Eldia and Marley in Paradise, and this arc, not only was it the most anticipated arc in the entire series, you could argue Return to Shiganshina, but I think this was the most anticipated arc, being that the two sides would finally clash. And seeing how so many different outcomes have already come out, you really don't know what's going to happen. You really can't expect anything but an outcome being either Eldia or Marley winning. But Hajime Isayama got this arc and flipped it upside down, creating a brand new arc that we would have never seen coming. And yet, he was able to do that while foreshadowing this entire final arc from the beginning, and we still never saw something like this coming. I'm never going to forget that this man titled his first chapter to You in 2,000 Years and titled chapter 122 From You 2,000 Years Ago. That is one of the best written climaxes and best written plot twists I've ever seen. That was unbelievable, and my jaw just freaking hit the floor.
Oh my
when I saw this climax. The truth between Eren and his father and what he really had to go through to get to where he is right now. The War for Paradise arc was just phenomenal, to say the least. But number 5, The War for Paradise from Attack on Titan. Number 4 is the 10 months in the making arc from Hajime no Ippo. This is an arc that not many people are going to know of, as Hajime no Ippo is a series that unfortunately, due to its extremely long length, not many people have seen it. And to me, that just hurts, because this was the best arc in shonen for me. The 10 months in the making arc built up all of Ippo's character. It gave us such an amazingly tragic, breathtaking, that climax was again one of the best climaxes in manga that I've ever seen, and it really made me emotional just seeing that, with the build up of Ippo's comeback. He lost against Elf, the comeback of Ippo, and what ends up happening is something that we will never forget. If you've seen Hajime no Ippo, you know what it is. But the 10 months in the making arc brought all of the foreshadowing in Hajime no Ippo and just combined it into this absolutely breathtaking arc that is the 10 months in the making. 10 months in the making for this comeback, and the climax was again one of the most tragic climaxes that I've ever seen. Number 4, the 10 months in the making arc from Hajime no Ippo. Oh boy, getting into the top 3 now. At number 3, I have the second Yoshioka arc from Vagabond. This is going to surprise many people, because usually you see the farming arc for Vagabond as the best arc. And for me, the farming arc is right up there with second Yoshioka. But for me, second Yoshioka takes the cake without question. It's just an absolutely unbelievable arc. The second Yoshioka arc not only was it the most anticipated and built up arc in Vagabond, it was the best executed arc in Vagabond. Yes, you heard that correctly. The best. Hold up. The build up between Denshichiro and Musashi, they had this deal where they would fight together in 1 year's time. And seeing how the two sides of build up come together, the two sides of growth in strength come together, seeing how Denshichiro trained and got strong, whereas Musashi learned the true meaning of strength, being that it is not the strength of your sword, but it is the strength of yourself as a person. And seeing the different contrasts between Musashi and how he sees strength versus Denshichiro and how he sees strength makes for an unbelievably breathtaking fight between the two, because it was built up for so long and the parallels were amazing. Now, you thought that was all? Nope. Vagabond gives you what is, in my opinion, the greatest fight in manga. I said it. Musashi versus the 70 Yoshioka. That fight just blew me away. So many different emotions, and seeing Musashi so differently focused on the 70 Yoshioka at once, just going after them, and the different emotions that go through in his mind through this fight show a different side of Musashi that we haven't seen, or very rarely have seen. The second Yoshioka arc changed everything for Musashi and drove him into the farming arc. Not going to spoil how that happened, of course, but I think that the second Yoshioka arc was the best arc in Vagabond, and it is, of course, my third favorite arc in all of manga. Number 3, the second Yoshioka arc from Vagabond. I'm sure you know what number 1 is, so I'm going to save it for the end. But number 2 is the Coalition Invasion arc from Kingdom. And I just finished reading this at the time of recording this video, and I genuinely have no words for the Coalition arc. It brought all of these characters and the entire world of Kingdom together in one place and created this massive war, being the Coalition Invasion. Every single other state invades the Kin, and this is the most dire situation for the Kin, as their kingdom will fall if they cannot win against all of these other states. There is so many incredible fights, incredible moments, amazing climaxes, character development, world building. The Coalition Invasion arc was the greatest arc in Kingdom, and I'm not even caught up to Kingdom, mind you, but it absolutely blew me away. Shin's development, Mobu as a freaking character became one of my favorites. Riboku is an amazing antagonist. Kanki, my dude, developed into an amazing character, and I love that man so much. But the one that really takes the cake in that arc is none other than Sei. That man, chapter 330, where Sei gathers everyone in Kingdom, all the people in the city of Sai, and just brings them together with this speech. That speech was one of my favorite moments in all of manga. That was unbelievably hype, and it was just so well written. Sei has become one of my favorite characters, and as you can see, the Coalition arc from Kingdom has become one of my favorite arcs. My second favorite arc ever. Number 2, the Coalition arc from Kingdom. So if you do not know what number 1 is, it means you are new to the channel and you're not subscribed and you don't watch my videos. So subscribe and watch my videos. But number 1 is the Golden Age arc from Berserk. It's the Golden Age arc from Berserk. I feel like I don't need to talk about the Golden Age arc because I made a whole video on it. But it has everything you ever need in an arc. Amazing character developments. One of the best romance story I've ever seen. Guts and Casca. Griffith developing into the greatest antagonist I've ever read. Guts, just an amazing character. The Eclipse, the most heartbreaking, tragic, and unbelievable climax ever. Just like, what doesn't this arc have? It has everything, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because I made a video on it. The Golden Age is the greatest arc in manga, at least in my opinion, and if it isn't for you, I respect that opinion completely, and I don't really care because this is my opinion. With that, we have concluded my top 10 arcs in all of manga. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new and like the video if you haven't already. This video took me a long time to record and edit as usual, as all my other videos are, so a like is very appreciated. But that's all for me. Take care and peace.